Welcome to the Bookit Sports YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribed and have those notifs turned on as well, so you know when we're posting new content, new videos. You're joined by Krabs and Jovan today, and we're going to talk about anytime touchdown scorers, our top 10 anytime touchdown scorers for this upcoming NFL Sunday, Week 15. Jovan, I'm excited to dive into this with you. No bye weeks this week, so we have an absolutely loaded slate to pick from. 13 games on NFL Sunday, AKA no excuses from us for not hitting ATTSs.
Yeah, big week for fantasy owners as well. So hoping that some of these guys can translate to the lineups because we need them in the playoffs. Need some points.
Good luck to everybody in their fantasy playoffs. I know you and me are in a couple playoffs ourselves right now. We're actually facing off in one of them. So I'm not going to wish you good luck, but I'll wish all the listeners good luck as of right now. Okay?
Of course.
Javon, you want to get it started off and get us going here with your first touchdown scorer for this NFL Sunday?
Sure. I'll take you one of my goats in the early games, going with Brian Thomas Jr., plus 160, who kind of a gross game, Jets-Jags. But the thing about the Jets is, like, Tyreek Hill has been in a box for God knows how long, been frustrating a lot of fantasy owners and bettors for weeks. The Jets played him last week, and it was without Sauce Gardner, sure, but it was because of the Jets, how they play. A lot of single high coverage. If you want to play man-to-man single high coverage, you're going to get burned against Tyreek Hill. You're also going to get burned against Brian Thomas. So again, I know Sauce is most likely going to be back in the fold this week, but every single time Brian Thomas has faced a team like this, a defense like this, that's when he's come out and he's had these ridiculously long bombs. And I think one of them is going to be in the touchdown area this week. So I'm taking him to score. I think they might win the game. Plus they're wearing those crazy throwbacks. So I have to back him.
Well, if you're taking Brian Thomas, I'm tailing. It's as simple as that. I mean, you picked this guy out before the season. You said he was going to break out. And what do you know? Knock on wood, having a pretty darn good season. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he also, trying to get that 1,000-yard milestone as well? So they're going to be trying to feed him the rock.
He's trying to get 1,000 yards. And I think the Jags rookie wide receiver record, I think he's also trying to break, which maybe he gets this week or the next.
Well, if he gets that, then you are officially him for calling Brian Thomas as a fantasy football sleeper. And let's hope he gets in the end zone this weekend. Okay.
Good.
Love the pick. I'm going to go with Brian Robinson Jr. We'll stick with the juniors here. I'm going to go with my guy B-Rob on the Commanders. I'll start out with the, minus money play here, and then we'll get to the plus chicken towards the end. Brian Robinson Jr. minus 130 to find pay dirt this weekend against the Saints. What do we know about this matchup? The Commanders are coming off a bye. And they're laying 7.5 here on the roads. The Saints are going with the new QB under center here. No Derek Carr. Should be a good look. We'll see how it goes. No Eckler for the Commanders. No Noah Brown for the Commanders. A little bit worried about some rust coming out of the bye. We know Cliff Kingsbury's offenses have kind of, fizzled out towards the end of the season more often than not. So although they had a good game before the bye week, am I worried about the Commanders trying to do too much on offense? Well, I think they try to negate that and get out ahead of it, Javon. And with no Eckler, I think they feed the heck out of B-Rob. If I'm looking at the Saints defense, we don't need to make crazy throws down the fields. We don't need to be superheroes here with JD5. I know he's making his return to Louisiana. Everybody's talking about that. But the guy they should be talking about, Javon, is Brian Robinson Jr. He's scored in 7 of 10 games he's played in this season. A couple of those, he's had multiple tutties. And if you've watched the Commanders, you know that if he's healthy, he's getting the ball on the goal line. And they're also trying to keep JD5 as healthy as possible. And clearly they have not run with him as much, towards the middle and second half of the season and along the goal line as well. They're just trying to keep him healthy for, potential playoffs down the line. And I think with no Eckler, it's not going to be a McNichols or Rodriguez, poaching a tutty in this game. It's going to be the B-Rob show coming out of a bye week with fresh legs.
Yeah. I'm in for that. I would be a little scared of the JD5 vulturing, but I don't think it'll matter because, B-Rob, he likes to get in there and be physical. That Saints run defense is moose. So I like where you're at on that one.
Early on this season, JD5 looked like the guy, first month and a half on the goal line. Only way we could really get in the end zone, right? We had some trouble. As the season's gone on, it's pretty clear they're trying to keep him protected, especially towards the red zone where he could get cracked on the goal line. They just haven't tried to run with him as much, besides maybe one touchdown in his last 4 or 5 games. So although that's always a concern with JD5, I'm thinking it's going to be B-Rob for 1 and maybe 2 this NFL Sunday. Yep.
I do see a guy on your list that I also kind of like for 2, but we can talk
Okay.
about that when we get
Let me
there.
know.
But I'll go right here. I have one more in the early window of games, and it's probably the craziest one of the ones we're going to talk about. From my side of things, a revenge game that nobody's going to want because this guy has not scored a touchdown all year, hasn't been a big volume guy. It's just been kind of dormant in an offense that's had some injuries at the quarterback position, but now they're playing one of the weakest secondaries in the NFL. Give me a Tyler Boyd touchdown at plus 360. Again, he has been nearly non-existent in the offense. He's getting max like 2-3 catches a game. But I will say, both against your Commanders 2 weeks ago and in the game last week against the Jags, where there was only one touchdown in the whole game, he's gotten overthrown in the end zone a couple times. And I like the Titans in that game. I think they'll be scoring points. I think they have a chance to win. They just kind of decided, I guess, as an org recently, or it started coming out, all the discourse about Levis like being the guy officially, because he's been really good over the last couple weeks. Who better to just say screw it and go take some shots against than this Bengals secondary? And what at this point, you're there for one reason, and it's that. But what else are you playing for if you're the Titans? Feed your guy in a revenge game against his former team, who he's kind of universally loved by everybody at the Bengals. There's no bad blood there, but it's a crazy shout to get him in the end zone for the first time this year. I think he just might do it.
Wouldn't it be something? Meant to be. Kind of what it sounds like. Love the revenge angle. Love the play. And look, the Mayo man under center, like you're saying, Levis, he has not been terrible. He's been okay. He's gaining some confidence as well. So let's hope that your guy Boyd against his former team can find pay dirt for the first time this season. And if he does, you are mega mind.
That would be crazy.
Mega mind.
Would be crazy.
I'm tailing this one just out of principle. As a contrarian, I have to get involved. Hasn't scored all season. Yeah, sign me up. Okay, I'm in. Let me take you to, I already gave you a running back, but I got another running back for you. Okay. Javonte Williams. Look, betting on this Denver Broncos, backfield would make you want to rip your hair out this whole season. But I think I have an angle here. Looking at the Prize Picks boards, and if you guys aren't playing Prize Picks, make sure you check out Prize Picks this weekend for NFL Sunday. But looking at the Prize Picks boards, Javonte Williams is getting some respect this weekend, not only on the grounds, considering how many carries he's gotten of late, but also with some of his receiving squares. His receiving yards is way higher than I expected. His rushing yards compared to the carries he's been getting, to me, looks a little bit high. And in a game that I think the Broncos end up winning, and maybe in the second half, just trying to run the rest of that clock out and prevent an AR-15 comeback, I wouldn't be shocked if Javonte Williams scores another touchdown. He went the majority of the season without a touchdown, Javon. And honestly, his carries, his numbers have been way down of late, but they've been very selective when using them. And he's had 2 touchdowns in his last 3 weeks, to be fair, on the ground. So, and looking at his receiving square, that's also weirdly high when he hasn't been as much of a factor in the receiving game. Makes me think that he might even be able to get one in the air as well here in this game. And I like points. I obviously like the Broncos. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Javonte Williams at plus 130 to score his 3rd touchdown in 4 weeks.
I'm down for that. I think Bo Nix is going to move the ball against that defense. Maybe get him to the goal line. Get a little Javonte Tutty. That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be crazy.
Make it happen. Plus 130.
You have any more in the early window of games or no?
I'm not sure. Why don't we just hop to your next one here? What do you got? What do you got for us up your sleeves? When you cooking?
I'll take you back. I'll take you back to that same game, actually, because I like points in that game. It seems like nobody does, and I get it. Really good Broncos defense, but I have been maybe a little better at picking out Anthony Richardson spots than just talking about the Colts kind of sides as a whole. The one thing about this game, both these teams are coming off a bye week. They're going to be very prepared. I think that helps the offenses more than the defenses in this specific situation. Whenever the Colts, play a really good run defense, they open up the design run game very, very early for Anthony Richardson. And part of that is to, open up the shot plays, which if you're this Colts offense and you got a Broncos defense that plays a shit ton of man coverage, you're going to get your shots if you're Anthony Richardson. But that also means you're going to get down to the goal line. And again, just like when they played the Lions or any one of these other offenses that are really stout run defenses. I know the Broncos numbers are probably a little better than they actually are, but they're a good run defense. Whenever that happens, they like to go to Anthony Richardson on the goal line, partially because that's just what's been working as of late. But again, the matchup, I think, lends itself to it too. So Give me an Anthony Richardson touchdown at, I believe, plus 175. And again, I think there's going to be points in this game. And a lot of that stems from the Colts kind of helping themselves out. I think Bo Nix has a day, but I think the Colts kind of keep right up with them and make this a really competitive and maybe surprisingly entertaining game. They go to their guy on the goal line. As frustrating as it's been to watch Jonathan Taylor sometimes as a fantasy owner in a couple places, I know that a lot of that's because Anthony Richardson mooches on the goal line. And I think that happens this week.
It's like the old Kyler Murray to James Conner trick, right? And the old QB touchdown poaching trick.
Yeah.
Sucks. But you know what? Let's use that to our advantage.
I have him stacked in a couple leagues too, so it doesn't hurt as much. It's a crazy stack to have, but
that is an insane Mo stack to have. Yes. But you know what? It's so crazy. It just might work. I'll tell you this. I've already seen an Anthony Richardson 70-yard pass, thrown it as far as he possibly can down the field to Josh Downs, and PI is called, and they get the ball in the 1. And next thing you know, AR-15 is QB sneaking in the end zone.
Yeah.
Already seen it.
I'd bust.
Already seen it. A handout tutty, but still counts. It's happening.
All counts.
All right. You mentioned a touchdown scorer earlier, Javon, Tyler Boyd, who has not scored a touchdown yet this season. Can I match you on a guy who also has not scored a touchdown yet this season? A guy who might be the best at his position in fantasy and still doesn't have a receiving touchdown this season, although he's probably second, to be honest with you, at this point, behind the guy in Las Vegas. But Trey McBride, and although he's banged up, Javon, and doesn't have a touchdown this entire season, I got to keep taking him. And he's only plus 180, which I thought was pretty weird. Relatively similar odds to what he's been at in recent weeks. They're not giving him any more juice because they know a touchdown's coming. And although he's banged up, I think that honestly could benefit him potentially if they're smart, if they know that they're only getting, 75% of the snaps they typically do out of McBride, who, by the way, has been an absolute wagon in the receiving game for this team after the bye week for the last couple weeks. If they're smart and they know that they're not going to be able to use him as much, let's use him in the right scenarios. Let's use him in the right part of the field. Let's use him in the red zone a couple times this game, which they really haven't done a ton this season. They use him to get down the field, and then once they get there, it's the James Conner show, or Kyler Murray running in, or maybe Marv is finally doing something for once, or one of the random receivers is coming down with a touchdown. I think finally this week you reward Trey McBride, and wouldn't it be something pretty funny if, when he hasn't even been really practicing much this week, barely, he's been a limited participant, he ends up finding the end zone on limited snaps. I could see it, and I like the Cardinals in this game. I know you disagree with me there, but I think we both see points in this game at least. So I'm taking McBride. I'll take the bait one more time, Javon, on a guy who's not scored a touchdown yet this season. I mean, if he doesn't get one this year, he might end up being the best fantasy football player in history to not record a receiving touchdown. Wild.
Literally. And yeah, I will be on the Patriots in this game, and I like the over in this game too. We're on the same side. But who I mentioned, the guy that I kind of like for 2 on your list?
Who's
the guy?
No way.
I think if he gets 1, he might get 2. And the thing that I love about this, that I'm right there with you, is Christian Gonzalez is going to be on Marvin Harrison. So
100%.
You look at some of the other games where I guess that's the entirety of the season, but the games recently where they've been, struggling to get him looks in the red zone. It's the Seahawks defense who they have corners on both sides that were playing really well against all the wide receivers. The Vikings who blitz a shit ton, and realistically, when they're in the red zone and they blitz, a lot of that target share has been going to Marvin Harrison. I think he scored in that game as well. The whole outside of the field or opposite side of the field is going to be open if you're McBride on that side with Marvin Harrison against Gonzalez on the other side. So he's going to get his looks. And again, if they find something that's working, I think it just might happen more than once. So I'm very much with you.
And besides Gonzalez, man, that defense is bad. They're going to be able to get the ball down to the red zone. And although you like the Patriots to, cover and keep it within a tutty, I personally think Arizona is going to be carrying the weight with this over. I know we're both seeing points, but either way, man, I think this could be a back and forth, sneaky good football game this weekend. Patriots, Cardinals, when you least expect it. Maybe the Patriots show up a little pissed off with all the Bill Belichick gas this week, right? They're pretty pissed off about the UNC talk. Maybe the Patriots try to show up and show out, and maybe you do get that cover. But either way, I'm seeing points here. And wouldn't it be something if McBride, when he's banged up, having the same odds he's had the last couple of weeks, wouldn't you think he'd have, plus 200 odds, plus 300 odds maybe? If he's banged up, he's going to be on a snap count, and he still hasn't done it yet. I would think he would, but his odds are staying the same, if not getting shorter. That's a great sign.
Yeah. And again, I like the Patriots, but it ain't because of their defense. I think there would be points. So I'm right there with you. Honorable mention that we're not talking about Drake May. Might score a touchdown too. But
okay. All right.
I got one in this early slate. I guess I got two more. I'll take you to maybe the best game of the week, that Bills-Lions game, where realistically, if you're taking touchdown scores, you're not getting very much for it because it's a 54.5 total, and pretty much half the team is looking at minus odds right now. But did find some plus chick. I want to go with Jamison Williams because I do think Jared Goff, Trent will be very happy to hear this. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But Jared Goff is going to be facing a secondary. I know Rasul Douglas just officially got announced out as we're recording this. They have 3 or 4 other members in the secondary that could potentially be out as well. They're all questionable. It's a banged up Bills secondary. And I know how bad their run defense is. And you can probably assume that's going to be a little bit of a point of emphasis to get Demont and Jahmyr Gibbs going. But this feels like the Jared Goff big play game against that secondary, those safeties in the back end. Who's the big play guy over the top? You can say sometimes it's St. Brown. You can say recently, for whatever reason, it's been like somewhat Tim Patrick in the end zone. But
yeah,
I think it's going to be J-Mo this week in a game that we kind of all think is going to have points. We think it's going to be cinema. It's hard to really say anything otherwise. Give me the J-Mo bomb because I think this is the week that we see it.
You know, I would not be shocked. That would be a great call, man. J-Mo at what, plus 200 to find the end zone in the game?
Plus 200.
Game with a total at what, 54.5? Got to be the highest total of Sunday, 100%. That's going to be must-see TV. If you're not watching that game, you must not love football. You must not love fun. Javon, yeah, I've already seen it, man. Jamison Williams breaking down the sideline, wide fucking open on a busted coverage from the Bills. Look, I like the Bills in this game, but I know it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be low scoring. Those are two things that I know. Okay, and J-Mo, a guy who, you know, I wouldn't have been shocked if his odds were a little shorter, especially in a game with that high of a total. But I still like him at plus 200 with the value there. And like you said, Tim Patrick, other guys have been stepping up, not this week. It's going to be the deep threat.
Yeah, I'm in on that. What do you got for me, Krabs?
Yeah, I got another stud receiver that just makes plays, but hasn't been getting the rock as much as he probably should. A guy who has not gotten a touchdown since week 3, I believe. It's been a long time since this guy's gotten a touchdown. Malik Nabers. Who the heck wants to bet on Malik Nabers this weekend? Honestly, probably not many. You know, you got Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets at QB throwing on the ball. He's not going to do shit. You know, you got Malik Nabers is banged up again. He's been banged up with the groin all season, right? He has not scored in a minute. He's been complaining about not getting the ball enough. And although the volume hasn't been terrible, it should be higher. And he should be getting the ball more down the field on longer routes and definitely should be getting the ball more in the red zone. Like they were targeting him early on in the season, like against the Commanders. Whatever they were doing then was working. I don't know why they went away from it, but Malik Nabers, one of those studs out there that is so due to score a touchdown and find pay dirt. It's been months. I've already seen it at plus 250. Although the Ravens might be laying a fat number here, I wouldn't be shocked if Tommy Cutlets throws a touchdown pass or two and finds Malik Nabers, who's been begging for the ball in the red zone, at plus 250. It's value that I cannot pass up. And knowing the Ravens secondary and their defense, if there's one way to beat them, it's with a guy like Malik Nabers down the field.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it against that secondary. So that secondary's moose, and they'll be in a trailing game script. One can only assume, so I can respect that for sure.
Yep. We got Tommy Cutlets, passing yards, at least high enough, in my opinion, to at least hope that he can get a touchdown or get the ball down the field a little bit in this game, right? I know the spread, you know, might not agree, but I believe enough, right? Maybe a garbage time, maybe second half, but that's got to be a point of emphasis for the Giants. It's all about the little wins for them at this point. They don't even want to win the game, but let's keep your prima donna wide receiver happy. Get him a touchdown.
Sure. 100%. I'm in on that.
You got one more for the peeps?
Got one more for you, Krabs. I
Sure.
saved the best for last. My goat.
All right.
Take you to LA, where the Bucs are going to face the Chargers this week. And the fan in me is very concerned about this game because this is the only game that we've had for like, I don't know, the last like month and a half of this season where it's like actually a challenging team. I know the Panthers are getting better. They play them twice. Like they play the Raiders. Like it's been a super soft schedule except for this game. I do think the offense is still going to score though. And I'm taking Mike Evans to score a touchdown in this game. And
wow,
I'll tell you why. It's not just because he's Mike Evans, although He does have just short of 600 yards of the season, so they're going to want to feed him to do everything they can for that 1K streak to continue, especially if he has a little tougher of a time in this game. But Bucky Irving has been super banged up all week, and I don't really know if he's going to play. If he does play, I don't know how much. That means Rachaad White, who is Moose. I know he had a decent game, I guess, broke some runs against the Raiders, but that's the Raiders' defense. This Chargers' run defense is very, very tough. Once the Bucs get down to the red zone, or if they get anywhere near it, really, even when they've had Bucky Irving, they look to go through the air because their run game really can't be trusted to get them in the end zone. So Mike Evans is obviously one of the biggest red zone targets, one of the biggest red zone weapons in football, but especially when you're probably going to be down Bucky Irving and you're going to have Rachaad White, who, against a tough run defense, he's going to average like negative yards per carry. So if they do get down there, especially like every time Bucs fans joke about it on the road when they go and they need to score points and maybe they're struggling a little bit or they're just looking for that early gut punch to another team, it's a Mike Evans fade in the end zone. And I think with Bucky out, Rachaad playing, probably getting a little bit of Sean Tucker, it makes all the sense in the world. You go to your guy. The streak's on the line to get him some yards. You're probably going to have a pretty tough time running the ball, but I do think they're still going to put up points against this team. You go to Mike Evans in the end zone. Simple formula. It's been their formula for God knows how many years.
Feed your guy, right? Look, he's still trying to achieve that milestone as well, the 1,000 yards, which is the craziest thing on earth, right? And I'm not saying it's, looking great, but feed him the fucking ball, right? Especially in the red zone too, against a Chargers team with such a stout rush defense. I mean, Harbaugh comes in there, turns them around right away. They're not going to be running the ball. Their running backs are either hurt or suck. It's got to be the Baker show once again in this game. I'm so with you. Love the play, and good to hear you backing your guy to find the pay dirt.
Have to do it, Krabs.
All right. I got one more for you as well. Let's round out this top 10. And if you're not tailing at least a couple of these responsibly this weekend, so while you're here, feel free to get involved, okay? And make sure you line chop as well. I got one more for you, Javon. This is going to be tough to sell. If I could sell this, I could sell everything. But I really like this play, and I will have coins on it, Javon. Let's go back to that Bills game. Let's go to that Bills game. You already talked about a great play that I love, but I got one on the other side. Okay, we know there's going to be points in this game, and I like the Bills. I'm circling back here. Who's been the guy carrying the weights in that receiving room of late for the Bills? Who's been the guy?
Khalil Shakir.
Well, Shakir, certainly, but there's been one fella as well who they traded for who's starting to heat up as well. Amari Cooper. Sure, especially last game. He balled. Those two gentlemen have been carrying the weight in the receiving room. It has not been much Curtis Samuel. Haven't heard his name in months. And our guy, Keon Coleman, who I'm about to talk about here, he's been hurt for a little while. Well, the reports are coming out this week. He's healthy as an ox, ready to get back on the fields. And to be honest with you, this guy's just a dog. He's a football guy. I could already tell when he was doing the weird, pressers after getting drafted. It just felt right. This kid's going to be a wide receiver in the NFL for the next 10 years. I can already see it. He's going to be the guy coming down with a touchdown in this game when people least expect it. And here's why. Stick with me. Keon Coleman, his odds are insanely low, in my opinion, insanely short for where they should be for a guy that hasn't played in weeks, a guy that you'd think is going to be, the secondary or third option once he returns back against the Lions defense that, some people actually kind of like. Well, in a game with this high of a total, I think it's going to be one of these receivers on the Bills, catching a deep ball on a pass from Josh Allen in this one, Javon, because the Lions rush defense, they're good, right? If you want to beat the Lions, it's got to be through the air. And we know Josh Allen's got it in him. It's here. It's his year, right? It's meant to be. He's been a menace through the air. He had 6 touchdowns last week total. Beast. Well, he's going to find one of his receivers down the field on a blown coverage play for the Lions. I'm very confident of it, but it's not going to be Amari Cooper. It's not going to be Khalil Shakir. It's going to be a guy who has similar odds, who hasn't played in 2 months. Keon Coleman at plus 250. I thought he'd be more at plus 500. Maybe it's because the total in this game is so high and they're seeing 100 points. That could be it, right? But I still think it's weird. He's still getting some respect, the same as a guy in Amari Cooper who absolutely balled for this Bills team last week. Who you think would be the easy answer to go to again this week? I think it's going to be Keon Coleman down the field making a play. Amari Cooper, that used to be his role, catching the deep ball down the field. At this point in his career, Javon, he's more of a possession receiver, right? Just look at the stats. He's not taking as many shots down the field. Keon Coleman's going to be the guy stretching the field in this one, and I've already seen it. It's going to take is one play, the Lions blowing coverage, and Keon Coleman breaking free for a long touchdown. Not going to be a red zone tutty. It's going to be a 30, 40 yarder. Already seen it.
That hits your goat at Krabs. Literally
Already seen it.
And I did check too. All 10 of these are squares on Prize Picks. So feel free to get involved with your own combinations or lineups or whatever you like. Take it and put it in whatever you want from what we're talking
Sure,
about.
we can.
Obviously, a lot of plays, a lot of touchdown scores, a lot of action. So get involved.
Yes. Please do responsibly this weekend. We have an absolutely loaded slate on Sunday, Javon. Let's cash some of these anytime touchdown scores. We appreciate everybody listening. Thank you again for watching this video on the Bookit Sports YouTube channel. And again, make sure you're following, have the notice turned on, and that you're subscribed as well, so you know when we're posting new content, new videos. Okay? We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Good luck this weekend. We'll bet.